The real link from Columbine to Sandy Hook. A supermodel ruined. The proof antidepressants are a sham.
You take a mortal man, you put him on psychotropics, have him play violent video games, and join the military. Starts to hear voices. He gets through 2 checkpoints because he has a top secret security clearance. Shoots a bunch of people. So now America has to turn its guns in. Because Dianne Feinstein has the moral high ground. Just like Nazi Germany, they'll take our guns. Because Obama loves the children, turn in your guns right now. Acting like a robot.
From the age of 10, docs pumped mind-altering meds into Adam Lanza. Pretty much every school shooter in the past decade was on prescription drugs. On antidepressants, kids are 10 times more likely to get violent. Suicides are even more widespread. Politicians forcing Farmageddon on Americans, and the mainstream media desperate to pop those pills.
They told me that I had taken a gun to my third period class and held them hostage.
We were told that if we did not follow up with their evaluation of ADHD and take him to the pediatrician and get him on Ritalin, that Child Protective Services could charge us for educational and emotional neglect.
At age 13, while riding his skateboard, he suddenly keeled over and was dead. The county medical examiner said there was no doubt in that case that the chronic administration of the Ritalin was the cause of death.
Ritalin is, for the purposes of classification by the Drug Enforcement Administration, is a Schedule II drug on the same list as cocaine.
We're trying to solve a problem in the schools by putting our children on kiddie cocaine.
Beth Winter killed herself just 9 days after being prescribed antidepressants like Paxil. She was a normal girl having trouble sleeping.
It just wasn't her. There was nothing in her that would have done that.
And thousands of such deaths are being masked by Big Pharma.
Reputation of drug companies is abysmal. It actually matches that of tobacco companies. As with Vioxx, we could have known years ago, before many people died.
The makers of best-selling antipsychotics Paxil, Prozac and Effexor have been forced for the first time to reveal their shocking research by Irving Kirsch. Thanks for joining us. What were the results?
Half of the data that had been collected by the drug companies had never been published. They had kept it hidden. So they knew about it. The Food and Drug Administration knew about it. We use a law called the Freedom of Information Act, and we compelled the FDA to send us copies of the data that did not show a benefit of the drug over placebo.
Okay, they hid proof that they're useless, but did they know their pills are actually deadly? 2/3 to 3/4 of the people taking them can lose their ability to engage in sex the way they usually do. There's an increased risk of stroke. There's an increased risk of death from all causes in young people and children and adults up to the age of 24. There's an increased risk of suicidality.
Something like 20-something% of the military's on these psychotropics, and every time they go crazy and kill a bunch of people, their families, you name it, they're always on these drugs, and then their answer is more drugs, more mental health screening, more drugs, more murders, more shootings. They're desperate to manufacture more shootings because all the other shootings are plunging, but actual mass shootings are actually up a little bit the last few years because so many people are on these drugs and the media hypes it. So every Fruit Loop goes, gee, I won't commit suicide. Those guys talk back to me at the base. I'm going to go shoot some cracker asses. I mean, what, is MSNBC going to come out and celebrate this and go?
Those, crazy crackers on the right, like if they start with their very hateful language.
How about Prozac? You know, the number one, oh, that's the big sponsor, isn't it? Or that whole class of drugs.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, whoa, got to cut that off, don't you? Don't want to talk about the U.S. number one cause of death is suicide now because they give people suicide mass murder pills.
Calm down.
Your answer is give more money to the psychiatrists and psychologists to put more crazy people on drugs that make them kill people, Pierce.
Everybody's free. Oh, yeah. To feel good. Oh, to feel good.
Walking, eating, driving, or engaging in other activities while asleep without remembering it the next day have been reported. Abnormal behaviors may include aggressiveness, agitation, hallucinations, or confusion. In depressed patients, worsening of depression, including risk of suicide, may occur. Alcohol may increase these risks.
When a mother chops her kids up with a cleaver because she's on serotonin...
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Why don't you want to get rid of the drugs? Because they're half your sponsors?
No, stick to the subject.
America's number one cause of unnatural death now is suicide.
Okay. Alex,
not automobile accident, not cancer, not...
You accuse me of attacking the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
I want to get people off pills that the insert says will make you commit suicide and kill people.
Alex, let's get about to the Second Amendment.
I want to blame the real culprit.
Alex.
Suicide pills.
Alex.
Mass murder pills.
Okay, let me ask...
Happy drug Prozac can bring on impulse to suicide, study shows. Really? Oh, that was in 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, they knew this back in 1981. And yet again, there's a few mass shooting cases where they won't release the medical records. That's why Watson has an article out saying 90+% of mass shooters are on it. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all on it. And they're always obsessed with shoot-'em-up video games. Harrison Kleinbold, Kip Kinkle, Adam Lanza, Aaron Alexis, and the list goes on and on and on.
Suicide and malformations the mainstream media won't report because for every $1 drug firms spend on research, they hand out 19 times more to media on commercials. Like this advertising, Big Pharma shills an astonishing $100 billion on ads to brainwash you into buying. Top spender is Pfizer with this notorious antidepressant Zoloft. Mainstream media gratefully pockets the fortune, and who cares about the viewers?
The Eli Lilly Corporation, a pharmaceutical company, for nearly 15 years covered up their own internal investigation that showed that anyone on Prozac is 12 times more likely to attempt suicide than those using other antidepressants, not 12 times more than the average population, 12 times more than those already on other antidepressants. This is a criminal act, and I want to know why these criminals are still walking the streets.
The public is swallowing the lies like a dream. The top 3 antidepressants bring in $25,000 a minute.
In the most recent campaigns of the last year or so, you're hearing so much, ask your doctor or talk to your doctor about. And when you hear that on the screen, it sounds so nice.
Ask your doctor about Effexor XL. Ask your doctor about Cymbalta.
Talk to your doctor about Zoloft.
So talk to your healthcare professional.
Get with your doctor today.
Tell your doctor.
Contact your doctor immediately.
Talk with your doctor.
What the studies have shown is if you actually bring up a brand name drug with your doctor by name, you're significantly more likely to walk out the door with that drug. So they do that for a reason. The industry is responsible to Wall Street, and Wall Street first. They have to please Wall Street.
But the fact that they don't works to the advantage of the drug companies and the psychiatrists, which means that you're not cured, which means that you're a patient for life, you're a customer, you're a client for life. And the worse your health gets, the more drugs you need. It's a great deal for them.
Supermodel Paulina Poriskova had everything going for her. She was only the second girl to cover Sports Illustrated's swimsuit edition 2 years straight. Then her doc prescribed, quote, crippling antidepressants. She shouldn't have been allowed on America's Next Top Model, as the drugs made her unstable. but the program boss pitied her because she was also on the same medication. In fact, Poriskova finds all her friends are on antipsychotics, which she says give you the self-awareness of a slug and kill your sex life. Americans are currently the largest guinea pig trial in history. Mind-altering drugs are tested just 4 weeks. Their long-term effects are being evaluated on unsuspecting citizens who think their drugs have been checked.
Then we see who dies, who has seizures, who has deformed children, who has epilepsy, who has diseases downstream, whose heart stops.
The public is the clinical trial.
No drug has side effects. They're all effects.
This is a very dangerous industry that has gone so far overboard in inventing fictitious diseases and drugging our children and our population that I consider it to be engaged in crimes against humanity.
But why are the people we depend on, our doctors, telling us on mainstream media to pop pills?
Doctors, and again, have become accustomed and entitled to accept all sorts of gifts, from the smallest to the largest, and certainly to the public, seeing doctors being jetted off to the Caribbean for a weekend with the drug company paying does not make the profession look very good.
Andrew Oswald joins us. He's the pioneer in the field of happiness research with hundreds of studies. What formulas actually work?
There's a strong correlation between eating lots of fruit and vegetables and having good mental health. How it works, we don't know, but the pattern is strongly in the data.
That diet's a key reason why villagers in Campo de Melle, Italy, live 17 years longer than average Americans. Tracy Lawson lived in the village. What's the secret?
The Campomellani eat the cucina povera, which literally translates as the poor kitchen. And it's called that because it wasn't rich in meat and they couldn't afford to eat meat. And of course that has turned out to be a huge benefit.
Yeah, which parts of the lifestyle can Americans or Brits take back with them?
In a year in the Village of Eternity, I hope that I've shown people that they can take huge lessons and actually transport an awful lot of the lifestyle of Campo de Melle to their homes, even if you live in the centre of a big city. If you're lucky, you might have a little bit of space to grow vegetables in pots. You know, things like potatoes and onions, you know, they pretty much grow themselves. They just need a little bit of water. And if you can't do that, if you can afford to, if you can buy organic vegetables and avoid overloading your system with the chemicals which are commonly used in mass agricultural production.
Such common sense is out the question today in the States, where kids are the new drug target. Alea was seized from school and force-fed a cocktail of 22 drugs after a 10-minute computer class test called Teen Screen.
When I saw for myself what they were giving her and how much and how often, I just thought, they're going to kill this child. And the parents were helpless.
So it presents itself as being a wonderful, altruistic program, whereas in fact, I believe its cold-blooded and cold-hearted intent is to recruit more children into the very subjective diagnoses of mental illness and to treat those kids with medication.
No regime in the history of this world has ever tried such a deadly mass drug experiment on its own people. The full effects will be seen on today's children in 50 years' time, when our current leaders aren't around to face consequences.
Feinstein calls for new gun control laws. He entered with a shotgun, picked up weapons inside. Report, no AR-15 involved. Shotgun, 2 handguns. CNN still reporting it's an AR-15. The answer is take yours. Mass shootings fuel fear, account for fraction of murders. That's a Bloomberg article actually being honest. Last week, Al-Qaeda called for small-scale attacks inside the United States, as we reported Friday. And D.C. mayor blames the sequester, saying that they don't have enough money for security and other ridiculous garbage. That's some of the news up on drudgereport.com. I want to be clear. With the authoritarian left that is not left, left and right wasn't discussed politically until 100 years ago. Left was associated with women and the devil. The right was concerned with masculinity and God. A little bit sexist, I know. But the point is, the left-hand path of Aleister Crowley. It was not political until the turn of the last century, a little over 100 years ago. If you want to call somebody a liberal, though, Thomas Jefferson was a liberal, and I want to be clear on that. These people are not liberals. We need to stop calling them liberals. They are like a disease of authoritarianism, and it is a war, so they call themselves progressives, when they actually want to progress their takeover while regressing your liberty, your freedom, and increasing taxes. So they like to regress the amount of money you keep for yourself and progress the amount of your money and labor they siphon off to themselves because they crave control freak power. And the name of their game is collective guilt and shame. You notice Kerry said, you will support our attack on Syria or every new attack and death is your fault. Hillary came out and said the same thing. Bill Clinton said the same thing. Carney said the same thing. They said after Sandy Hook, if you don't let us ban these guns, you're going to be responsible, gun owners, collectively for any other deaths. Remember that over and over again. You are responsible. But we better be getting the news out there that this guy was under psychiatric care and on drugs, and that he was hearing voices, and then he got through 2 checkpoints and was still able to attack people. I don't get why these guys are always so dumb. Why don't they go to an off-base bar that's frequented by everybody? I mean, I don't want to give them ideas, but why do they always want to go to the zone? Because they know nobody's got guns in there but a few police. That's why. We just answered their question. You get into the perimeter, you are in a sitting duck zone. I mean, why can you trust police to have guns in the police department, but you can't trust the military to have guns? Well, some of them are on psychotropics and are mentally ill. That's why they don't. That's why the Secretary of Defense, the last 2, won't get around troops with guns. I'm not really agreeing with them, but that's why they're scared. They know what they've done to these people.
Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. From the nation's Second Amendment watchdog, anti-gunners, get ready for the pain. The misinformation is over because this is the blunt object. From Gun Owners of America, this is Lock and Load with Bill Frady. Bill Frady.
And as we roll on the 3rd hour, this is Lock and Load. The number to get in, 1-800-313-9443. Every time we have one of these young disturbed men go off on a rampage shooting, of course, they're coming after us. They're coming after us and what we own. And one thing that is not ever discussed, they may give it a mere lip service, is one of the common denominators with all of these young fellows is that they're on a psychotropic drug compound of some type to treat some sort of mental illness they have been experiencing. Now, we know that these things are bad, but how bad are they? I mean, I know the common denominator, and I can make that assertion all day long, but I got lucky because somebody that knows more about them than I do contacted me. Joining me now, and I confess I don't know where she's coming from, but we're joined now by Dr. Linda Langeman. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm coming from San Francisco. That's where I'm coming from.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness, I know.
Okay. I know some people in San Francisco, but they're all gun people. Anyway, all right.
Don't hold
now,
it against me.
This classification of drugs, this is known as an SSRI, yes?
Yeah.
What does that stand for, first of all?
SSRI is serotonin-specific reuptake inhibitor. And what that means is, you have a normal, neurotransmitter, serotonin, in the brain, and it fires at, the receptor site, and then it gets reabsorbed into the system. And that's normally how it goes. It gets released by one cell, and it fires on the receptor of another and gets reabsorbed and circles back around. The SSRIs, the reuptake inhibitors, prevent the reabsorption. So it keeps firing at the receptor site. It stays in the area. It doesn't reabsorb, and it just keeps firing. So it artificially raises the level of serotonin. It makes more of it be firing. So here's what happens with that. We're going to come back over some of these points again because I really want to make it clear that there's no such thing as a chemical imbalance, which is what these things are sold based on. It's all a fraud. But let's look at what the mechanism, what it does. You put that in the brain, you artificially elevate the serotonin, your own brain says, wow, something's wrong here. We have more serotonin than we are used to and than we should have. So let's shut down production of serotonin, because apparently we have too much of it going on. So the brain stops producing serotonin naturally, and it atrophies some of the receptor sites, because it says, well, we don't need these. We're getting too much serotonin now. Now, this actually creates a chemical imbalance where none existed. And that's why it's really hard for people to go off of the antidepressants, and why they have such a horrible time, and why they get depressed when they go off of them, because now they have a chemical imbalance and they are not actually producing the serotonin that they should be. And what happens is they get told, when they try to come off the antidepressant and they get depressed again, psychiatrists will tell them, oh, wow, too bad. See, this just shows you're one of those people. It's just your brain chemistry. You need to be on this drug for the rest of your life and be a customer for the pharmaceutical industry for the rest of your life. Now, backing up, depression, before the introduction of the antidepressants and the SSRIs in particular, depression was known to be something that self-resolved. It didn't require treatment. It was written about in the psychiatric journals. The head of the depression division of the National Institute of Mental Health, everybody in the 60s and 70s talked about depression being something that, without treatment, it will get better with or without treatment in a few months. Maybe a couple months, maybe 6 months, but you don't need to do anything, and it will get better. When they came out with the antidepressants, their hope was it might shorten the duration of the episode. But what they started seeing, and I can trace this, it's all in the psychiatric journals. You start seeing articles by doctors saying, I gave the person the antidepressant. It did shorten the episode. They seemed better at first. But then when they came off it, they had a relapse. And you start seeing people talk about it creating a chronic condition. And this goes on for a decade or so, where there are journal articles saying, whoa, antidepressants are causing a chronic condition. And then by the year 2000, they forget history, they stop talking about that, and they just start writing about depression as a chronic condition, as if it always was, as if there are some people who are just chronically going to be depressed, and not acknowledging that they created that. Right now, in the U.S., 1 in 4 Americans is on a psychiatric drug. It's staggering, the effectiveness of the marketing. So we are creating chemical imbalances and chronic conditions and increased people on the disability rolls. That's the other thing. I think there are 850 new people go on the mental illness disability rolls a day because of psychiatric drugs. So
the effects of the SSRI sounds a lot like what anabolic steroids do to your body's natural testosterone production.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, I mean, because, your body has its own wisdom. And it's got a balance. It's creating things. It's got its normal chemical flow. And you get problems when you interrupt that. Now, the other thing, so back to this idea of a chemical imbalance. This is how these drugs are sold. If you look at all these commercials since 1997, when the pharmaceutical industry and the American Psychiatric Association, lobbied Congress and got, direct-to-consumer advertising allowed, we are one of 2 countries in the world that allows direct-to-consumer advertising, TV commercials, print ads, of psychiatric diagnoses and psychiatric drugs. Other people don't do this. But once that happened, for the past 16 years, we've all been bombarded. We all know the commercials. They list a bunch of things that are everyday struggles in life. People do have very real mental and emotional struggles. And they say, do you experience this? Do you experience that? You may be suffering from a chemical imbalance and have this disorder, and we have this drug that will help. It's all a lie. There is no chemical imbalance. There are these diagnoses. You were talking earlier, I was listening to the program earlier, about these experts and giving opinions. I don't know if most people know, but the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, this is the thing that's put out by the American Psychiatric Association that lists all the mental disorders, supposedly, these, brain disorders, brain diseases. There are about 300 of those diagnoses currently. And I don't know if people know that they are voted on. There is no science. They are literally voted on. And it's just by their agreement, and they want to then call it and sell it as if it's a medical issue, a brain disease, and then sell drugs to treat it. But the whole thing is made up, and it is over 70% of the psychiatrists on the panel making the diagnoses have direct financial ties to the pharmaceutical industry. So they profit by making these. And what they do is they pick things that everybody will relate to. Like let's take shyness.
Hang on a minute before you go any further, Doctor. We're coming up on the break. We'll pick that up on the other side. I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you regarding some. But anyway, we'll be right back on Wednesday with Dr. Linda Langemann. This is Lock and Load. Talking with Dr. Linda Langemann about SSRIs, since all of these rampage shooters, which seems to be the springboard for all the new calls for gun control as they wait for the next one to come up, they never seem to be interested in tackling this issue. Doctor, given the fact that it was discovered that these things were creating a problem, they were a solution to a problem that didn't exist, why are they still out there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The FDA, what they do, after lots of fighting done by, Citizens Commission on Human Rights and other groups, we didn't get into that. I'm a commissioner for Citizens Commission on Human Rights. It's the CCHR. It's the oldest and largest international mental health watchdog, and has been investigating and exposing human rights abuses in the mental health field since 1969. So tons of, helpful information on the websites, the cchr.org and the international one, cchrint.org. But anyway, yeah, so what happens is the FDA puts warning labels, and those really had to be fought hard for. To get an FDA warning label, there has to be proven causation. They don't put those unless there is proof of causation. And the FDA black box warnings are the most serious. All of these SSRIs, every one of them, contains black box warnings of suicidality, homicidality, and many other things. Let's just start with those. I don't know why they're on the market. They put a warning label, and okay, that's great. At least people have a fighting chance if they would read those labels and take it seriously and not think it's just a bunch of legalese. It's for real. But they put a warning label, but it's incomprehensible, yet they still sell it. And it is sold and it is given to children. And the adverse reaction to the SSRIs are completely a recipe for violence and suicide. They include things like, they increase agitation, hostility, irritability. They decrease judgment. They decrease impulse control. They cause an emotional numbness. They cause what's called depersonalization and derealization, meaning the person feels just disconnected from themselves and from the world and people, like nothing really seems real and makes any difference. And then you add to that homicidal fantasies, suicidal fantasies, and it's a recipe for the violence that we're seeing, and that's been played out many times. And then what happens, you get these killing sprees, and there's a bunch of them we could, note from the news recently, starting, let's just go back to Fort Hood, the Navy Yard shooter, this one in Isla Vista down at UC Santa Barbara. And after each one, here's a couple things happen. We get manipulated. The public is manipulated with, gun control issue, and whether it should be or shouldn't be, that issue is polarizing in this country, and everybody knows it. They know it. So they push on that button and manipulate us, get us arguing about gun control or Second Amendment rights. And meanwhile, the American Psychiatric Association, the pharmaceutical industry, they're on Capitol Hill pushing for more money, more taxpayer dollars for, more mental health treatment. And it's so bold, it's outrageous, because it is that very, quote, treatment that has caused the problem. I have said and will repeat, because it's the truth, You know, you have people say guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, you got to look at what causes a person to do something like that. And it's guns don't kill people, people on psych drugs kill people. And that is the bare truth of it. And it brings it down because you've got to look at what would cause a person to behave in a way so abnormal and bizarre. What does that? What pushes them over the edge? I don't care that they had some issue that they were struggling with that got them into, you know, therapy or seeing a psychiatrist to start with. That is not what causes somebody to do these bizarre spree killings. You've got to alter a person's mind, and that's where you get mind-altering drugs. Psychotropic means, the word psychotropic. Psyche is, you know, mind. Tropic means turning. So you turn the mind. It's mind-altering. And that's how you could have somebody behave in a way that they never would. You hear these things like the Fort Hood guy, Ivan Lopez. He didn't have a history of violence. You know, you get people doing bizarre stuff, killing their kids, going on shootings, killing themselves. They don't care. Their mind has been altered. Psychiatric drugs, the SSRIs, you know, because that's one that we're focusing on specifically, the mechanism of it is it disables parts of the brain. Every psychotropic drug disrupts the function of the frontal lobe. They impair functioning in one way or another. You know, anti-anxiety drugs, they suppress your higher brain function, they suppress your cognitive function, suppress memory.
Let me ask you a question before we go to break, if I may, and then
Sure.
when we come back from the other side, I want, if it's okay, I'd like to take a call for a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, so these people that have these temporary issues that they prescribe these psychotropic drugs to that creates a longer-lasting problem, is there a way back for them? Is there a treatment for them that can take, you know, deal with that problem that has been chemically created?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want me to answer that now or after the break?
We got about 3 minutes, 2.5.
Oh,
If you can answer it in 2.5 minutes, go for it.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sure. Okay, so some of the things, you know, some of the damage from the psychiatric drugs is permanent, some of those things. The SSRIs, I've read there's studies going both ways on whether you can, your brain will readjust. I'm a hopeful person. I really believe in the individual's capacity to heal, and that if you get off of them very slowly, like I really don't want anybody listening to, you know, that might be on the psychiatric drug to just stop it abruptly, because that creates severe problems. And actually some of the killing sprees are when a person is in the withdrawal phase, which creates violence. GlaxoSmithKline had to pay out, I think it was $3 billion. I know it was more than $1 billion because of concealing for 15 years their own internal studies showing the addiction and the violence in the withdrawal phase from Paxil, one of the antidepressants, one of the SSRIs. So anyway, I do think that if you come off gradually, taper off slowly, there's a book called Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal by a doctor named Peter Bregan, and that's very helpful. It's you give your brain a chance to start recreating, you know, reproducing, you know, the regular neurochemicals. So, and then you've got to get back to treating the underlying thing that brought the person to the attention or into therapy to start with. And there are all kinds of things. I mean, people have the ability to handle life, and you don't handle it. Drugs never taught anybody anything. You're not going to make sense of the world by altering your mind, by putting a drug in there and messing up your cognitive functioning. You've got to confront problems. You've got to, like, take responsibility, confront things, and handle them. If you're depressed, look at your life. Is it, you know, do you need to exercise? Do you need to, you know, change jobs? Do you need to move? Do you need, you know, what do you need to handle to, you know, get control of your life so that you're not depressed? The single best treatment for depression, actually, by studies, is exercise. It's actually exercise.
Working out.
Working out, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You hang on. We'll be going to the phones after we get back on a Wednesday with Dr. Linda Langeman. This is Lock and Load. Dr. Linda Langeman, let's go to the phones for a question for you, Dr. Ed in Kentucky. Yes, sir.
My name's Ed Breving. I live in Covington, Kentucky. I'm a disabled Army veteran and supposedly diagnosed with bipolar. Oh, by the way, Bill, at the VA, when you go get medications, they do give you warnings, and some of these warnings are about 12 sheets long.
Well, I don't. I'm eligible for the VA, but just
don't go.
They got going on.
Stay private.
That's one big warning for me, so I don't even go. Yeah. So.
stay private. Here was one of the medications, doctor. I'm not sure if I can pronounce it. Divalproex, 500 milligrams, 24-hour ERSA tab. Violence, yeah. And the weird thing, he says, well, I gave it for you, so you don't get, because I found when I was taking it, yeah, I'm an Italian, yeah, I get angry. We have a temper. Us Italians have tempers.
Yeah.
But I was flying off in a rage.
Yeah.
Well, when I turned around and took a hiatus out of the VA, I just see till I stopped taking the medications. I detoxed my system. And all of a sudden, one day I'm out with a friend of mine, and I got angry at a guy, and I just said, I said, bah, and walked away. And he grabbed me, turned me around, he says, are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, why? He goes, dude, I said, dude, I'm off the medications.
Totally. Yes. Good for you. Well done.
But no, here's the thing. When I went back to the VA, I told the doctor, I said, why would you prescribe a person supposedly on bipolar this one certain? Well, I said, lady, I was flying off in a race, and I looked. I said, oh, I forgot. I'm a guinea pig and a lab rat. You're funded by Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and everybody. And I said, here's the deal. You can tell them all to kiss my Italian butt. I said, and I tell you what, tell them they got 2.8 million veterans butts they can kiss too. I says, if you're going to put me on anything to calm me down, well, we talked about it. Now I'm on a low dose of lithium, which is a natural supplement, and I feel a lot better. I got my temper back. Don't get me wrong, I got my temper, but I don't fly. Over the summer, and I'm like, and that even scared me. I'm like, I'm not like this. I said, yeah, I get angry. I got a temper. Yeah, I'm Italian. But the thing is, I said, I prayed. And I called my sister-in-law. She's a homeopathic specialist. And she says, baby, they're killing you. She goes, you got to detox.
Yep.
I said, how? She goes, I'll be back. And she just came to my house with full of spices that you buy at the store.
Yep.
And she says, here you go. And I feel a lot better. I do my walking. Because of my physical condition, I got to limit myself, but I walk, and I love my walk, and I pray a lot too.
That's all great. Walking is great because it gets you part of a lot of mental struggle. It's because of being, in your head and stuck in your head. If you actually go for a walk and you look out and you look at things, it gets you out of your head and into, the world and the environment you're actually in. Because if you are paying attention to the environment you're actually in, there's usually no distress there. Unless somebody's, hitting you or something. The stress is mentally constructed because you're living it, thinking of the past, stressing about what's going to happen in the future. So walks are great.
And I heard one doctor say the DSM's a joke.
It entirely is. The chair of the former version of the DSM, there's a new one now, but the guy, Dr. Alan Francis, who is the chair of DSM-4, now we're on DSM-5, he is quoted. He says that there's no real definition of a mental disorder, that it's all, quote, bullshit. He says this. To look up specific drugs, the CCHRINT.org, that's the Citizens Commission on Human Rights International.org, has an incredible drug database. You can click and enter a drug. It's a clearinghouse. It's journalists use that because the research is phenomenal, and it's the most comprehensive drug database out there and lists all the adverse reactions that are reported. The other thing I want to mention came up in what he was talking about, the documentary, the news documentary by CCHR that produced is called The Hidden Enemy. And if people go to CCHRINT.org, even CCHR.org, they can find this documentary on there. You can watch it for free. You can order it also. But The Hidden Enemy is an incredibly well-documented account of psychiatry in the military and how it has infiltrated since World War II, really, and experimenting on soldiers and veterans. They are being used as guinea pigs, and that was actually purposeful because, one of the heads of Psychiatric Association back in 1940 said this would be a perfect group because they follow orders, it's a closed community, we can do experiments. And that's what they've been doing. And it's exposed in this documentary. I really encourage people to see it. And then in more recent times, there has been a massive influx of psychiatric drugs in the military. They got the approval of somebody at the top, and that's all you need. You get the top person to let this happen, and it becomes policy. And from 2005 to 2011, there was a 682% increase in psychiatric drugs in the military. I am deeply concerned about our freedom and our minds and how that's being destroyed by psychiatric drugs from all across the age span in our military.
You hang on one more time. We'll be right back on a Wednesday with Dr. Linda Loggeman. This is Lock and Load.
I'm Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America, and I want to invite you to join the Second Amendment movement with Gun Owners of America, the only no-compromise gun lobby in Washington. Take action by becoming a GOA member today by going to gunowners.org. Gun Owners members receive the GOA newsletter, fact sheets, alerts, certificates, and more. But there's more to joining GOA than just a list of member benefits. The united voice of GOA members has been successful in defeating restrictive legislation designed to disarm our population. GOA has helped to get strong constitutional members of Congress like Senator Ted Cruz elected. And with your help, GOA will continue to successfully defend the rights of gun owners in the courts. Participate in our efforts to restore and preserve the nation's right to keep and bear arms. All contributions to our lobbying efforts are used exclusively to support or oppose firearms legislation. Join online at gunowners.org.
So I really want to address this issue of people feeling like the medications help them. And it's really important for people to know the extent of the placebo effect. It's huge. The placebo effect is anywhere, at a minimum, it's 35%. It goes up to 70%. There are some cases where the placebo effect is 100%. So what that means is if you give 100 people a sugar pill, at a minimum, 35 of those people and up to 70 of them are going to say, oh, my God, I feel so much better. I'm not depressed anymore. I'm not anxious anymore. I can study better. All of that. Placebo effect is huge. It's people's own ability. This is what I just hope we can get to at some point. There's tons of research on the placebo effect. I have lots of things to say about it, and it's an extremely hopeful and inspiring area because it is our own capacity to decide to change our condition and make it so. It doesn't matter if you believe it's because you're wearing your lucky underwear or if you believe it's because you took the pill. The bottom line is you changed your condition. And the thing with the placebo is there are no adverse reactions. You're not messing with your brain chemistry.
When doctors are figuring out a dosage to prescribe, are they playing 52 pickup?
They totally. It's a hit or miss thing. Everybody's going to react differently. Now, PTSD that was made up in 1980. Before that, let's say with veterans, you had combat stress, battle fatigue, normal reactions. What John was describing, whatever he was involved with the war on terror domestically that caused stress and PTSD and depression-type symptoms, all normal reactions to stressors and abnormal situations. Veterans coming back, of course they have these symptoms. It's normal. And it was only in 1980 that the psychiatrist said, it's a mental disorder. You're broken. It's like, no, you're not broken. You're having a normal reaction that any of us would have, and you need space, time, you need, good nutrition, exercise, you need to talk to other people who've gone through the same thing and, kind of regroup. But you start drugging, and then you get another drug, and I'm glad John avoided this whole thing of the multi-drugs because that's where you get sudden death. And there's been a huge increase in sudden cardiac death with healthy young people in the military taking the drug as prescribed because none of these drugs, none, have been studied in combination. So even if it's got an FDA approval, one drug, it doesn't have approval to be given with a second one, a third one, and that's how they're most commonly given because you give one drug, you got adverse reactions, then they give you another drug, and then they give you another one, and, you end up, with drug cocktails that literally will stop a person's heart in the middle of the sleep.
Last call. Jerry.
A couple months back, I heard her say for the first time, guns don't kill people, people on psych drugs kill people. And I took it upon myself to make T-shirts and bumper stickers. And every host that has her on, I'm trying to get them a T-shirt and some bumper stickers. So if you could give me a mailing address or give it to Linda, she'll get it to me. I'll make sure you get that.
Jerry, you can email me at bill@lockandloadradio.com. I'll be happy to supply that.
God bless you. I'll let you guys go.
It's fantastic he's making these T-shirts. I think it's fantastic. I'd love to see them across the country at every gun show, because that is the true why, the reason for the crazy killing sprees.
Doc, thanks very much. I will be in touch with you soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with your listeners. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Gosh, everything I suspected was true. I don't know what that says for me. We're going to do this again in 21 hours. And between now and then, I want you to remember this very concisely. It has never been about gun control. Not ever. It has been. It's always going to be about total control.
We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
It's not about keeping guns out of the hands of law-abiding Americans, and I'm sick and tired of people lying to the American people.
We're not proposing a gun registration system. We're proposing background checks for criminals.
No one's taking away all the guns.
Everyone will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
You've heard it here. I'm on television, so everybody knows it. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in people's lawful right to bear arms. I will not take your shotgun away. I will not take your rifle away. I won't take your handgun away.
Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in.